Hello again, and welcome to the Now For Men and an SCI podcast. I'm John McAlevey, joined as always by Barry Monroe, Sasha Rabchevsky, and our newest knight at the round table, Dr. Trevor Dyson Hudson, is joining us. And before we get rolling, boys, I wanted to just say that I had an opportunity. You don't really have an opportunity to get to meet some of your idols in this world, and I had one a month or so back when there was an in-service going on at Kessler Institute where I work and where Dr. Trevor works, and I got a chance to meet not only Matthew Roderick, who I've interviewed a couple times on the Quadcast, also the great Louise Phipps-Senft. I got a chance to meet Louise and give her a big hug, and also my good friend here in the top left quadrant, Mr. Barry Monroe. It was great to finally press the flesh and not just see you in the corner of a screen, but we were actually in the same room together, and it was really great seeing you, Barry.
Great seeing you, Johnny, and meeting with Trevor too as well. It was a great time. Thank you.
It
And
was,
that was
and
a
the only
and
thing
that was a
the only
no-no.
thing left now is we got to get Sasha. I got to get a chance where we
Yeah.
could get together and break some bread. Hopefully, the four of us will have an opportunity to do all that. And why don't you maybe Barry and Doc tell us a little bit about what that whole 2-day conference was all about in a
Yeah.
nutshell before we hop into today's topic.
Why don't you lead off, Trevor? Because you were a host of sorts.
Sure. So we were hosting a get together. A couple of years ago, we launched a navigation program at Kessler Foundation and Kessler Institute for Rehab to help people, newly injured people with spinal cord injury and their families navigate that kind of confusing time from when you're in the acute care hospital and you're starting to think about going to rehab and you're just overwhelmed with things. And then once you're in rehab, transitioning back out into the community, a lot of people just feel like, you're leaving the friendly confines of rehab hospital. Your life has changed completely.
Yeah.
And you're in this new environment. This rehab hospital is a new person almost, a newborn. And then you go home and it's like reality hits you. That's one where you realize that your life has changed forever because you're back in your environment where you were before your injury. You now are having your injury. For a lot of people, that's when it really hits home. They realize that things won't be the same. But it's
Mhm.
also scary for the family because you just feel you've left that protective bubble of the rehab hospital, and there's a lot of people feel like they're dropped off a cliff or jumping out of an airplane without a parachute. And so the
Mhm.
navigation program is to help people navigate that process. And even over time, we all can transition. You maybe were independent, and as you age, things change and you need assistance, and that can be you go in the hospital and you come out and uh you need navigating later in life. So this program is there. And so this was something we started at Kessler, but there's great centers across the country and up in our friends up north in Canada are doing similar programs. So what we did was we reached out to as many people as we could think of that had centers to see if they had navigation programs and to bring everybody to Kessler for I guess it was 2 days, right? 2 day symposia to just talk about navigation and share our thoughts and what a program may look like and how we maybe
Mhm.
can implement this at other places and perhaps get it funded on a continuous basis. So it really was quite nice to just a meeting of minds to hear about all the different programs. And as you said, John, see
Mhm.
so many heroes, people that we hear about in the community who are
Yeah.
advocating. So
All in one room.
all in
All
one,
unre-
about 60 or 70 people. So yeah, we're sorry you weren't there, Sasha, but
me
it
too.
really was. And this is not this is not a one-off thing. We plan on continuing this in years in the future. So and opening it up to others for sure.
Hmm. How about
We
you,
we
Barry?
yeah, we've talked about this in the past. It's like it's just criminal right now that how they release people from rehab in such shortened stays, and I think the best phrase I heard coming out of those few days was, "It's akin to falling off a cliff." It really is. They Without the support in the community, which we're trying to really reconcile and catch up with, people are really thrown to the wild. It's tough and it's tough to watch, and so hopefully some solutions come out of it, some ideas that are we can pool our resources together, and that's the plan.
Yeah,
So,
it
so
reminds me.
Barry Frank. Oh,
We do something at Kessler called Lunch and Learn, and it's a week-long series of lectures of which Dr. Trevor takes us through the skin management portion of it. I do. I kick off on Mondays with introduction to spinal cord injury, and then we do a lecture on bowel management, bladder management, skin management, and then also a transition home. And it's one of these things now with iPads. We go around to the room and say, would you like to partake? We could bring an iPad in, and it's, you can monitor this if you want. And oftentimes we have patients that say no, they don't want to do it. I remember when I was an inpatient, the great Sandy De Leon, who was with us, there was no ifs, ands, or buts. She was going to drag your hindquarters down to that room. And I thank the good Lord that I did, because I hearken back to those lessons I learned all those years ago. And I tell people now, you're going to be home in 3 weeks, in 4 weeks, and the call bell's not going to be there, and you're not going to be have an aide come in to help you with whatever you're going through. So you really should take part in a lot of this stuff. And I think that's basically what the guys are hitting at here, Sasha, is that we're sending people home too soon, too
mhm.
unprepared, and it's like thrown right to the wolves.
And I
Yeah.
just remember, I mean, maybe Barry, Sasha felt the same. You too, John. I didn't want to go to those classes. I just wanted to be in my room, I just, or you go there and I see, I'm a quad with impaired hand function. And, there's all these paras who can do all these things. They're already,
Mhm.
Yeah.
Yeah.
going out. I was doing my rehab at Mount Sinai, and my roommate was a para, and he was going out to the store and coming back with stuff, and
Yeah.
I was
Yeah.
just barely trying not to pass out. And it's not until you go home that you realize what you don't know, right?
Mhm.
Bingo.
You
So,
have to do
so,
that
so,
bowel program for the first time solo, or you wake up with a pounding headache and you're like, what like your worst headache in your life, and you're like, what the hell's going on?
so, Barry, let me ask you this with Trevor's lead in. So, how is it you come to this meeting? Are you seeing things here in the States that are different than in Canada? I mean, what's going like, in other words, I know that the BC group up there, Vancouver Health, I think it is, they've got this huge initiative also for transitioning. You've got the Kessler Fund, but I guess the question is where do the resources come from for all this, right?
It's the one common thing is everybody's sort of figuring it out with what they got, but there are a lot of commonalities to what we're doing both sides of the border. I could it's interesting, these pockets of different things that in a perfect world, Trevor, would all be unified together and bring in all the things. But
Yeah,
I think in our case, just look at us as another region. There's not a lot of differences in terms of north and south of the border when it comes to figure out increased peer support, navigation,
right.
peer coaching, whatever you want to call it. They're all the same.
Mhm. Yeah.
Yep.
I
Well,
guess there is the structural problem for us here at least is that once you get out of discharged, there's no real strong programs to follow you up in the 120 counties we have in this state. So it's a very isolating thing. And so when we talk about these wonderful centers and the abilities is kind of far reaching for even this state to think
mm,
about that at this time, and it's frustrating because when you think of Kentucky you think of two primary institutes of research, right? But spinal cord research, but yet we aren't delivering that terribly much, and that's the
mhm,
because we don't have an infrastructure for it. Certainly Lexington doesn't. Louisville has a much better clinical infrastructure, but they're not a model system. They can't they don't have that all that yet.
mhm.
So it's a very I guess the point being is no matter where we are geographically really does dictate how much we're able to do. But that's why with the AI and everybody's iPhone, we need to start having a centralized database, user-friendly stuff. John, I know, Mary, I know that you're working with Aaron Phillips on these things, and there's stuff going on at University of Pittsburgh. I just worry about, okay, well, which version are you going to use? Which version are you going to use? It's again, we're rabbit holing ourselves.
Yeah. Yeah. And
But I think you raise a good points. I mean, what I have just see is can be such a positive influence for people are these like Zoom platforms or these where you can actually visual. I mean, it's not as good as actually being and seeing each other in face, person to
Mhm.
person, but it's better than nothing, right?
Yeah.
And you
Right.
can at least connect to people and
Yeah.
not feel so isolated. And
Well, and I zoom every so often onto United Spinal's some of their stuff. It's amazing. You just see 120 non-faces. You get
oh
like
yeah,
non-names. I mean, but there's people out there that are tuning in because it's a common thing, and
yeah,
therefore we should be using those platforms,
sure,
in other
absolutely,
capacities.
yeah,
yep.
absolutely.
Yep.
Anyway,
Well, I wanted to bring that up right off the top because as again, it really was a pleasure to get the chance to meet Barry in person and some of
yeah.
my other folks that, we all kind of said at the end, we're all sort of pulling on the same rope here, and I'm honored to be pulling on the same rope as a lot of, you three gentlemen here and those that were in the room. It's we're all trying to do good and help our fellow brethren out. So
Uh,
that was good from right off the top. And today we are experiencing something outside that we're going to talk about today that affects all of us. And at this point, I would like if we had a budget for this program, I would actually be playing a song. I'm going to take us back to 1985 and the Power Station, and the lyrics were "Some like it hot and some sweat when the heat is on. Some like it hot and decide that they can't go on. Some like it hot, but you can't tell how hot till you try. Some like it hot, so let's turn up the heat till we fry." Oh, the great Robert Palmer, who's no longer
There
with
we
us.
go.
oh wow,
Yeah. But
85. That was the year of my accident.
yeah, we go back. So it's hot, guys. I know here in Jersey, I think Trevor, I think it's in the low 90s, and I think tomorrow and Thursday are going to be 100, 102 we're supposed to get
Yeah,
to. And
that's
Goodness.
the absolute, and the heat index is probably going to go up to probably 110 or so.
yeah, so
Yeah.
I have become a potted plant. I've already canceled. Jane knows that I will not be in this week, and she gives me my blessing. She tells me she doesn't want me to come in. I canceled my PT and OT for the next couple of days, and I am going to hunker down here in the air conditioning because
Nice.
it's dangerous for us. And we all have some stories about how we've run into some trouble with the heat, and I figured maybe we could go around the horn. I know, Doc, you've got quite a story that you would like to tell us, and
Sure.
maybe you could, before you get into telling your story, you know, give a little brief
Yeah. Sure.
what AD is and how it affects us and
Yeah.
what levels and who's affected by it with spinal cord wise.
Right. Yeah, sure. So, these temperatures certainly serve as a reminder that we, as people with spinal cord injury, really have to be careful in hot weather or even just with intense sun. That can happen in the fall. And again, so we always think of spinal cord injuries affecting the motor and the sensory systems, but it affects the autonomic nervous system. And when we talk about autonomics, we're often thinking of fight or flight or rest and digest, but the autonomic nervous system plays a role in temperature regulation, right? So thermal regulation. So if you think about it, so when you get hot, normally people will sweat and that helps them cool off. The breeze kind of helps cool the skin. Your blood vessels at the surface of your skin dilate. That helps dissipate the heat that's been kind of building up in your core. So for people with higher autonomic dysfunction, um, injuries above T6, especially because that's above where the blood vessels of the gut are, we can be especially prone So, what will often happen is you're out on a hot day and you're not getting that normal response. You're not sweating, you're not vasodilating. And for a lot of people, you know, as a quad, you're cold all the time. And so actually it feels really nice to be out there in the sun and you're getting nice and toasty. And then at some point you go, oh my God,
Yeah.
I am hot. And
Mm,
when that realization happens, it's probably too late. And
yeah.
there could be some subtle signs. One of the things that I notice is I start to get a runny nose or
Hmm.
get some nasal stuffiness. So
Huh.
these are some very subtle signs of autonomic dysfunction or dysreflexia. I don't get the like with my full bladder or bowel, the pounding headaches or things like that. I get some of the more subtle signs, and
Hmm.
so that can be an early sign for me that I'm starting to overheat, you know, so it always, what can you do? Well, always think ahead, right? Don't wait until you feel overheated because
Hmm.
then it may be too late, right? So
Mhm.
I always think one of the things that I've started to do is carry a spray bottle with water in it. That misting
Oh,
can
yeah.
kind of create a sweating effect. There's something called a misty mate that you used to be able to get in places like back when Kmart was still around, but
Hmm.
Walmart. But these things that you can pump up yourself, fill up with water, pump up and spray yourself. They're kind of miniature versions of what you see on the football sidelines for
Okay.
football players and soccer players who are trying to cool off.
Hmm.
Wear loose fitting clothing, uh, avoid direct sunlight if possible. I think about some of the
Hats.
hats. Absolutely. It's amazing what a hat can do, you know, and, and not only a hat, but a bandana, right? Potentially that you carry with you
Oh,
and
Hmm.
so a bottle of water and preferably ice water if you can do it or a jug of ice because over time that ice will turn to cold water which you can
Yeah.
always use but I
Hmm.
still remember a bunch of us getting together at the Meadowlands to watch a soccer match during the summer. We're a bunch of quads in Paris sitting on the blacktop tailgating
ooh, yeah.
and suddenly realizing that we're getting kind of toasty on that black.
Oh,
But you
geez.
take a band. They were laughing at me because I took a bandana and threw it in the ice water and draped it over my neck, and pretty soon everybody was doing the same thing. So I
Monkey
think
see,
it's just
monkey do.
yeah, I think it's just trying to think of those things to try to help cool off your body,
Mm,
Yeah.
and then realizing when we went to go watch the match inside the Meadowlands, the sun is beating down on us.
Yeah.
And actually, at field level, I really feel for the athletes. The
mm,
temperatures down at the level of the field are much higher. So it's just, you really have to think ahead whenever doing things, as a person with a spinal cord injury. If you like baseball games and you go to a day game, just plan ahead and
yeah.
Make sure you
be
get a
prepared.
shade. That's the thing is that
Yeah,
when you're getting out
exactly.
in sunlight, you have to be diligent about getting out of it, you
You
know?
may need to take a break and go
Yeah.
to the vendor area to try to cool off. Um,
Yeah. Or you got to find a friend who has those luxury suites and go into one of those air conditioned
that
boxes.
exactly,
Friends
exactly.
with benefits, right?
Yeah, and really just don't be afraid to use air conditioning to be proactive.
Yeah.
And
Yeah.
I talk, so you would talk about stories. I think all of us have kind of a potential scary story.
Sure.
I have a number of them, but the one that really kind of rings true or the scariest of them all was actually way back in 2011, where I was actually coming from a conference. Maybe Sasha might have even been there. It was a spinal injury conference in Washington, and we knew it was early June, but it was going to be hot like it is now.
Yeah.
And so we tried to plan ahead. My girlfriend and I leaving town. We left early in the morning, but unfortunately, on our way out of town, the muffler went on my car.
Oh,
So I had to stop at a center to get it repaired. And so as I was sitting in the center there, I was slowly starting, even though I was in a shaded waiting area, the doors opening, closing. It's Washington, D.C. in the summer. I'm
Brutal.
slowly getting warm. So I'm already hot by the time we leave. And get on the road around, instead of leaving around 8 o'clock in the morning, we're on the road at around noon or maybe 2 o'clock in the afternoon. So it's high heat.
Baking.
And as we're leaving Washington, of course, boom, we hit the traffic. And then, of course, there's construction going on. So we're in stop and go traffic. So we're just sitting there. And
Ugh.
that's when I realized my air conditioner wasn't pumping out cold air. It
Oh,
was
dear
actually
God.
just blowing hot air on me. So we're sitting there in traffic with the windows open. There's really no air movement. And that's when it went from bad to worse. I just started seeing stars and things like that. And
Mm.
I knew, we cleared the traffic and I was just feeling worse and worse. But I was honestly scared that if I pulled over and waited for an emergency vehicle to get to me, I might not make it that long.
Wow.
Yeah,
So,
and see that
so
you didn't have AC. I
I
mean,
didn't
that's
have AC, and so I just was driving as fast as I could. But in the process, I was scaring the hell out of my girlfriend. And I was actually just trying to hold it together because my brain was really
uh,
starting to melt down. I mean, there's a
wow.
reason why they call it heat stroke,
Uh,
because your brain is, and so I was just focused on trying to get to an exit that had a fast food place that I could get out of my car, get
mhm.
into an air conditioned environment and drink cold water. So
Mhm.
we eventually got to a McDonald's. My girlfriend had to drag me out of the car.
Good
She
grief.
wheeled me into the McDonald's and we found a table, and I couldn't speak. I was at a point that I couldn't, my brain was just not functioning. And
Uh,
she just went and got cold ice water for me. And for about 2 to 3 hours, I just sat in that McDonald's drinking cold water and trying to cool down
Mm.
until I felt at least well enough to get back in the car. She had to drive because I was shaking. I was a basket case.
wow.
Wow.
So
That's unbelievable.
yeah, and I mean, thankfully, I started to recover. I started to feel more human. I could speak in intelligent sentences.
Mhm.
So about 2 or 3 hours into our trip, we hit, Pennsylvania. I was starting to feel better, and I could start driving. But boy, that was really scary. And
Wow.
you know,
Yeah.
I feel
How
lucky to have survived that incident. So.
how were the people at McDonald's people? Were they helpful? Did they kind
Yeah,
of know
I
what was
don't know
going
what
on?
they must have been wondering what the hell. Yeah, nope, they left us alone. I mean, what was nice, it
Well,
was
McDonald's
actually,
is a haven, guys. Like
yeah, it
when I
was
was
actually
living
one of these
overseas,
morning.
man, it's the only place I knew where I could go that had accessible bathrooms.
Well, the
Yeah,
Mayor McCheese could have brought you over a McFlurry or something like
yeah.
that to give you,
I don't
come
know what
on.
people thought, but they clearly saw it. I thought my girlfriend
Nice.
was there. They left me alone. We were just
Yeah.
sitting there drinking lots and lots of ice water. I mean, the
Wow.
thing you have to realize too is if you're consuming that much fluids, you have to keep an eye on your bladder.
Right. And
For me, I
that's
have
the
a
catch
leg bag.
22 about going to
Yeah,
beaches or anywhere. You don't want to have to pee, so you don't drink. And guess what? That's a recipe for a stroke. I
yeah,
mean, it is constant worry for me when I go out now, especially because I over the years I don't thermoregulate like I used to.
yeah.
Um, Barry, I
It's
can remember one incident where we met in Cleveland, and you had just drove down from Toronto. Oh my God, I don't think you look like you were purple. Yeah,
Yeah,
I
I
mean,
could barely talk.
You look like Oompa Loompa.
Yeah. So the air went in my van, and it was one of those strange days in October where it was like this, and in the knocking on 100, and I guess I must have been about 2 hours out when I was starting to feel it. Got there, got out, had my care with me, And I just saw Sasha, love your brother, gotta go, get straight
Yeah.
to the room to, I think about 2 hours later against a 2 hour window, finally come back. And it
Right.
reminds me that these stories are always like, you see these, National Geographics and these reptiles in the desert, right? They only come out at night and they're cold blooded so they can survive, but they're not anywhere around in the heat. And
Yeah.
it's like that too. But
Yeah.
it's funny, what I think about this lots every time you hear these incidents of during the summer training camp of NFL players and college players dying from heat stroke. And the one thing I do know about all this, and I think we can all attest to this, is that we still are heating up even after we're inside and cooling down. There's a window that's kind of scary that no matter what you're doing, it takes a while to hit in. But the one tip I was going to just leave with this is when back in, and this is going back to the points we are talking about at the beginning of this, is that these are things people talked about in rehab that the kids now don't get. That kids,
Uh-huh.
whatever, the
Yeah.
people don't get those tips. That someone said to me, if you're ever in this position, get a bag of ice and drop it on your crotch,
Yeah.
and run cold water on your wrists and on the back of your neck because that's where your blood is flowing, or a
Yeah.
wet towel. Like
Uh-huh.
these are the quick things you can do that for immediate relief. And I thought, yeah, and of course
Right.
water. I mean, I've
Yeah.
been out where I just say, throw the bucket on me, like knock it to me, take the
Yeah.
hose. I don't care. Just
Mm.
go for it. Where it's been that bad, but yeah,
Mhm.
I hear you.
Yeah,
Yeah,
no,
but
it's
for me,
amazing how
one of
cooling
go ahead,
water
sir.
can be. Sorry about that. Yeah, just water. I mean, it's really just continue. I had a second similar incident, and I think it really is that, you know, in your brain, air conditioning is so important especially if you're in your car out in this heat. And I think of the incidences where I've had problems are when my car's air conditioning was broken. And I was thinking, oh, well, if I can just do this, maintain a speed, I
Right.
can keep cool air coming through the window. The
Yeah.
trouble is during the summer or they're doing road
Yeah.
construction, and that's when you hit stop and go traffic, and then you're stuck, and you really are. You really have to think proactively and like get off the road and maybe take some secondary roads where it's a little more shaded, because
Yeah.
a lot of interstates are just out there in the sun. There's not a lot of shade, and
No.
you're
Mhm.
stuck.
I've actually
What about you, Sash?
I've stopped at an underpass one time because I was it was like a long stretch of road. The car was again, it's like you guys, AC was out. They had all windows. It was like what do they call it? 465, four windows down, 65 miles an hour. That was
Oh, I never heard of that. That's great.
so so that's really what it was. But I just was so overwhelmed. I was actually I was like losing breath, and I'm a
Wow.
T5. It wasn't, I shouldn't have it complicate, but I just realized it's Mother Nature. Get out of the sun. So I did on underpass, and I saw other people pass under the same one because there wasn't a bridge to be seen the other direction.
Mhm.
Wow.
Yeah.
Wow. Yeah.
I've had some experiences where I think some of it might have to do with the baclofen that I'm on, where I just get completely washed out, where I have to come home. Some days I'll come home from work and I'll just sit in my chair, and I really and truly am a potted plant. I can barely lift my arm up, and
Wow.
I just have to just lay here. I sit with the AC and I put the fan on like 100 miles an hour. If it comes off the ceiling there, it's going to lop my head off. It's going so fast. So I just sort of have to get my bearings straight. And then I had one incident where I was down. My family has a house down at the Jersey Shore, and the air conditioning, we don't have central air there. We have like the units that are in the wall, and
Uh-huh.
they don't necessarily work all that great. And we had a really like a rogue hot day that came up, and I just remember yelling to my family like, I am not feeling well. This is not good. And my niece and nephew were younger, and we didn't want to frighten them. And I was getting I think another thing that happens, guys, is that we get to scaring ourselves in a way, and that doesn't help everything. It starts to snowball. So what we did is we have an outdoor shower. I got in, they just put me in the outdoor shower and just cranked the cold water.
Yeah.
And in the meantime, my next door neighbor, who is an absolute prince, he's a wonderful guy. He ran out to like Lowe's or the Home Depot or something to buy a new wall unit to put in. But for maybe a half an hour, I stood in the shower there with the cold water rolling on my head. And I was still scared the you know what out of me. And it can really frighten people. And people have no idea what we're talking about. You know, they're like, oh, yeah, you guys go out in the sunlight and it feels great. And
Yeah.
I don't know how people do it. I have a good friend that lives now out in Scottsdale, Arizona, and he's always telling me, come on out and visit, come on out and visit. And one of my able-bodied buds went out there recently, and he went to a spring training game, or the Cactus League, I guess they call it out there. And he said, John, I had to leave. I couldn't sit there. It was blazing hot at 10 o'clock in the morning. He said,
Yeah.
I had to seek shade. He said, you would have been like a raisin. You would have shriveled up and died. So I don't know if I could, you know, have you guys ever been out to that sort of weather? Have you felt that, like Vegas or
Oh,
Yeah.
Arizona?
Yeah.
How does your body, I mean, can you go outside
Not
for
good.
more than
Not
5 minutes?
long.
Not
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 long.
long.
I want to share a story with you about the heat and cold in Canada and US. And it's kind of, we had this program. So many of you know that there's a lot of neurotrauma injuries in the sport of hockey. And sorry, you guys like to say ice hockey. It's hockey.
Yeah.
And what happens is between spinal cord injuries and, of course, concussions. So we had a program called Shoot for a Cure and it was in partnership with the NHL Players Association and some of the NHL teams. So we'd go around and speak to teams and, work on programs and things like that. So we had a chance to go to Arizona, to Phoenix, to see the Coyotes.
Oh,
For those of the hockey people or non-hockey people out there listening, they used to be the former Winnipeg Jets hockey team
Wow.
Right.
that
Yeah.
moved to the desert. So a lot of the same people,
thanks, Gary Bettman.
yeah, now, and a lot of the same people that were with the team staff-wise, were all from Winnipeg moving to
Wow.
Arizona. And so when I was talking to them, I said, how are you finding the difference? I mean, the nickname for Winnipeg in Canada is called Winterpeg. It's cold. It's a cold, cold place. So he says, Barry, it's not much different. He said, in Winnipeg, we'd have our cars plugged in and the automatic starters, and we basically would start our cars half an hour, let the heat run and warm up, and then we'd run out to our cars and hop in. In Phoenix, we'd start our cars with the air conditioning crank, let it go for half an hour, then we'd run out to our cars and hop in. But the funny thing is, like, I've been to Vegas in August, I've been to Phoenix in June, and it's like, you guys know this, you're wheeling across the parking lot and literally your tires are sticking to the asphalt. That's hot.
Yep.
That's hot. So
Yep.
John, there's no good way to answer your question. You just keep moving, man, and don't stop
Yeah.
because you can't sit in that stuff.
You
It's
can't,
terrible.
Yeah.
you can't hang out. Unfortunately, it's really, and as
Yeah.
Barry pointed out, I mean, it takes you hours, and as you observed, all of us observe, it takes you hours to cool off. It's not like
Yeah.
you just drink a cold drink or sit in an underpass for 5 minutes to cool off. It takes you an hour or two to actually have your body
Acclimate.
temperature kind
Yeah.
of come back down. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I know a lot of friends that I have here and some of my family, you know, my parents' friends and all, their idea was to, you know, live their life here, work hard, and then when they retire, move down to Florida or move down to, you know, head down that way. And, you know, I've visited Florida over the years, prior to my accident and now after my accident. And I have to tell you that, like, even in the winter up here in Jersey, you go down there and it is hot in Florida. I mean, you pick and choose your spots. I don't know whether I could live in Florida. So,
Yeah.
I mean, where are people
I
like
lived there in
us?
the 90s and I loved it, but that was because
Yeah.
I was young and virile. Everything's fine, you know, not worried about that. But again, I faced the same things, especially on the beach. Wouldn't you get on the beach? I mean, if you don't have an entourage with you, you're screwed because
Mm,
it's nothing but hot everywhere,
Yeah.
Yeah.
and umbrellas, unless you bring one, they don't exist, typically.
yeah.
Um, yeah, yeah. I wanted to share something with you real quick because a friend of all of ours, Kim Anderson, and I were at Banff back in 2003, and we were. It was a lake, and they decided to host talk outside. Now, mind you, we're way up there and the sun is heating down. And it was the first time, and I have had autonomic dysreflexia, but Kim and I were just gotten to be friends. I witnessed experience with what somebody can go through, what Kim went through. Just for me to be able to help her get out of that situation took, was not trivial because it was a very inaccessible place. They put us down there. They didn't think about it. With no shade. And then she was
Mm,
just like, what did they not get? That was 2003. I
Yeah.
don't know how much they changed. Yeah.
right.
But those are things that you don't think about until they hit you, you know?
Hmm.
Yeah, no, I
Yeah.
don't think that it is. It is. I mean, my girlfriend calls me Lizard Man because it is.
See?
I mean, I
See?
could be
Yeah.
a
Cold
sunny
blooded
day
animals.
in the weather in the winter. If the sun's out and it's beating on me, I'm warm, right? But
Yeah.
likewise in the summer, it's at first it feels great because I'm cold. My default is cold. And so when I first go outside, it's really nice.
Hmm.
But like I said, it's not long before I start to overheat. And once my brain registers that I'm warm, it's going to take me a while to cool down from that.
Yeah.
Well, I don't know
Yeah.
about you all, but what I go through pretty much on a daily basis now with the weather is I'll be out, I'll be doing things, and I come home and my air conditioning is that maybe 75. It's not that high, but I get chills. Like
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
get it goes just the opposite pendulum, and I'm wearing a
Yeah.
sweatshirt when it's 95 degrees outside.
Yeah.
It's a crummy time of year, and I love the summer. I love the sun. I love getting out of the winter. But when you're in an office or working all day in the air as a quad, you're sitting in one spot. I'm frozen, and then what? I got to go outside. I get
Yeah.
in this
I mean,
kind of
it's like an
heat.
oven.
Yeah, and it's like the opposite. And of course, I get one of those summer colds all the time because I'm going hot, cold. But I need to warm up. I remember all these conferences we go to, right? And we be in New Orleans and stuff like that. And all the quads, we kind of just break time and shoot right for the outside.
Yeah.
Hmm.
It's stinking hot, but because we're sitting in the air the whole time, we're freezing. And
We're,
it's
Yeah.
yeah,
you
we're
can't
miserable.
win. But that there's I mean, I don't know. I can wind my way out of this, but I don't know. It just
But Trevor, I
it
think
it
I think going back to what your original thing is that if you're going to do things like this, which is normal, we do crazy things. Have a plan. The
Yeah.
spray
yeah.
bottle, I hadn't thought about that since I used one, but nobody taught me, and I kind of forgot about it. Like,
And,
but it was something I used to use back in the day. A lot. You know.
And I go
no.
to Home Depot. I'll say this is a plug for Home Depot. I don't know, John, if you're getting any royalties from this one, but
Sponsored by Home Depot.
Yeah.
Yeah.
yeah, they have a mister. And those orange Home Depot buckets? You buy
Uh,
the bucket, the mister sits right on top of the bucket. It's about this wide. It's a fan, but it also has a pump. And it pulls the water up and it mists out to you. I got
oh.
one sitting here and it's great. It looks like shit, but it's great. And it's designed for contractors when they're working inside in the
Yeah.
Oh,
summertime in a
okay.
warm place.
Yeah.
You're framing a house. It's like 100
Yeah.
degrees, and
Yeah.
but
Yeah.
these things work. And so when we had like the odd patio time when you're out somewhere and you're not dressed up or anything like that, and say,
Yep.
I just
Yep.
throw the mister on and it's coming at me. And it's like golden. It's
It's a
golden.
DIYer over there.
And it
Yeah.
wasn't my idea. Somebody smarter than me
You know what else I
suggested.
think is important, guys? And I know it's tough because it's not inexpensive. Is I live here with my mom, and as you guys, the hot is tough for me. The cold is also tough for me. And with rolling blackouts and things like that, we finally just went ahead and put in a home generator for the house,
Yeah.
so that if the power goes out, it's not going to affect us. And because I remember, like I told you about that time at the shore when that thing went out, man, I was in a bad way. So I always feel confident that at least I have this to, home base here is something that I can take, solace in.
Yeah, no,
Yeah,
that's a really great point, John, because when you have these high temperatures, you get these alerts from your local electric company saying potential blackouts,
Right.
because everybody is just it's a huge draw on the grid.
Yeah.
Everybody's got their AC going, and so you could do that, or you have storms that come blowing through and could knock the power out for a little while.
Yeah.
And you could be trying to sleep at night and just the temperatures are only, especially here in the New York metro area, New York, New Jersey,
Yeah.
temperatures when during the extreme heat times can maybe the lowest it gets is maybe 80 degrees at night, and that you can't cool off from that.
Yeah.
No.
You're lying in
No.
bed there dying with your window open, no air blowing in, and it's
Yeah.
80
It's
degrees. So
Yeah.
just getting hot air blowing in your
yeah,
face, right?
yes, they just and again, I don't want to dissuade people from going out and having fun, but I just think you have to plan. And like you said, Sasha, I mean, it's amazing what a hack can do for you. An
Yeah.
Mhm.
umbrella to just make
Mhm.
sure the heat isn't beating on you, and a nice big cooler full of ice and water and just all
Yeah.
these things, to just potentially drape over you that are wet to help you cool off. And, just plan ahead, and you can go out and enjoy the summer. Just be smart.
You know, but
Choose your
I can
spots.
remember when I was, younger and didn't really have a care in the world. I had a fanny pack I carried around. That was all I needed. Now I got a backpack. I got a backpack in the backpack. I mean,
Yeah.
it's just like making sure I got all my stuff with me just in
Like a
case.
bag lady, right? We have all our stuff.
MacGyver bag.
Yeah. Yeah.
if I could write a letter to new injured me,
Yeah.
I want to go back to what Sasha said is that you have to have a plan, but it's almost like it does take a couple incidents to figure it out that you got to it's like a stepping stone. There are a lot of little warnings saying, okay, hang on, you're going to be out. Like, first of all, you're out. Where's my safe space for cooling? What
Mhm.
do I have with me if I worst case scenario I got to dump water over my head, something like that. But you
Mhm.
got to think about regulating how the signs of okay, it's starting to turn because when you finally figure out you're too hot, it's almost like it's too late, and
Yeah.
then you're in crisis mode and you got to
Right.
figure out,
And
okay,
that's
I
what
need to
Trevor
get
was
air.
saying. Yeah.
Yeah.
But
Mhm.
I think that's the key for if we're passing a message out to anybody that's listening is like know the signs early and then do what you need to do
Mhm.
to kind of stop that. Just head inside. Shade, if it's not the humidex going through the roof, shade is good. Shade can
Mhm.
makes a difference in the world. I was out for a wheel on the weekend and it was getting hot but the humidity wasn't stupid. But I was realizing, okay, you're an idiot. You're 2 miles from or a mile from home, and okay, how are you gonna figure this one out? So literally it's just in a neighborhood, but I would find the shade, the trees, the way the sun was. I'd stay on the side of the street where the shade was. So every so many yards, I'm like bam into shade, bam into shade. So I thought
Mhm.
I'm getting my way home that way.
Timing it. Yeah.
And so, or I'd say, idiot, stop. Just stop
Yeah.
for a few minutes
Yeah.
and just cool down before you go on. But you got to think of it that way. Is these are the little steps you need to take. But back to Sasha, you're so right. You need a plan,
Mhm.
or it could be fatal.
Yep.
Yeah, and just be prepared. I whenever I do it for road trips, and I guess I do it for work because I always travel with 2 bottles of water. But you're fine when you have AC, but if your car breaks down alongside the
Mhm.
road, your AC is not going to work.
Right.
Mhm.
If
Yep.
your car overheats, if something happens and you're sitting on the side of the road in the heat, with the sun beating down, you immediately have to get that door open, get your windows open, be
Mhm.
proactive. Don't, as you pointed out, Barry, don't wait till you feel hot.
Yeah.
And call for help as soon as you can. Call
And
triple.
worst comes to worst, Doc, would you recommend people just going if you're in a bad way going to the emergency room?
Ah, boy, that's a tough one, right? Because we've had
Yeah.
our conversations
Yeah,
about
we
going
have.
to the emergency room.
Yeah, they don't know what they're
I
doing
think
either.
it's yeah. I mean,
McDonald's, maybe that's it. McDonald's, go to
if you're in a
McDonald's.
bad way, yeah, absolutely. I
Yeah.
mean,
Yeah.
I probably, you know, uh, hindsight's a wonderful thing, right? So the fact that I'm still here means I was able to manage those things.
Yes.
Okay.
Yeah.
You know, would I have benefited from being in an emergency room? I don't know. Uh, because, is the emergency room necessarily any cooler than
Right.
where I am?
That's
And,
true.
with my girlfriend and McDonald's counter there, I can
Hmm.
get ice
Yeah.
on demand and
Yeah.
drink water. Whereas maybe in the emergency room, I'm waiting to be triaged. So I think,
Hmm.
Uh-huh.
sometimes you have to take matters into your own hand and just
Yeah.
try to
Johnny, we are working this for you right now. Trevor is like plugging Mickey D's. I got
That's
Home
it.
Depot going.
That's right.
That's
That's
it.
You
right.
know, like what else do we need here? Like they got to be knocking on your door any minute now. Like
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah.
to
We should.
write the check.
That's absolutely right. Well, I can attest to what a DC summer's like. 2 years before I had my injury, I worked. I lived in Greenbelt, Maryland, and I worked in DC for
Oh,
the summer. And mother of pearl, was it warm down there? Oh my
Yeah.
God, it was
Yeah.
so hot. And I was right out of college, and like a moron, I had put on a couple of pounds in college where you're having late night pizza and drinking beers, and so to try and work some of that off, I was wearing one of those like wetsuit things on and running in the neighborhood, and it was just sweating all this. I don't know how I didn't have a coronary in that kind of weather, but yeah, it gets hot out there. One last one for me, guys, because we're running up against Father Time here. Do you guys do you swim at all? Do you go into the ocean? Do you go into a pool? Is that something that where we can cool off as well?
I have a swimming pool, and it's like a godsend. I mean, it's I have I used to just you do it the old-fashioned way, which I don't need any help, but it would take me a half hour to get it out. But now I have a crane, and it's just
Okay.
a lifesaver, and it's a really good way to have good neighbors too.
Yeah,
That come
that's
over and
great.
patrol
That's
and do
true.
things. But yes, in essence, yes, cooling down. And that's where I go back to going to the beach. It's a catch-22 because the beach, you're in the water how long? And
Right.
how much else are you just in that sandy, nasty kind of grit,
Yeah.
like pretending you're loving it?
Yeah, I mean,
Right.
how
Yeah.
do you get
Or
into
even
the water?
stroking out and smiling at the same time with
Yeah.
a selfie.
Yeah.
I mean, it's almost like torture, right? Because the water's there, yet
Yeah,
you can't
exactly.
get in there, right?
How
What
do
are they
you get
gonna
in?
do?
Yeah,
Wheel you in your wheelchair? I mean, I guess if
I
you're
know.
lucky, they have one
Hmm.
of these beach chairs. But yeah, sadly, I mean, I grew up loving the beach, but now it's just like
Hmm.
to me, going to the beach is low on my list
Yeah.
of enjoyable
Yeah.
things because I'm just gonna go there
Yeah.
and bake and
Yep.
then just, yeah, need to go cool off somewhere. So
Hmm.
Well, for me, I'll be honest, and I'm not being benevolent, but I also don't feel like being literally the drag wheel. I don't want them to feel that, they can't do things, and if I gotta be sentenced to a place like that, just well, at least when I used to drink a lot, hey, it was fine. Now it's kinda like, okay,
yeah.
choose my platforms.
Yeah,
Hmm.
absolutely. Well,
Hmm.
and you have to think, I mean, drinking alters your the ability of your body to regulate too. So you're drinking beers at a beach or even, I used to meet up with some friends, go to the Jersey Shore and eat at a restaurant. And you'd
Uh-huh.
be in the restaurant, you're not in the direct sunlight, but it's still hot
Yeah.
and
Hmm.
you're drinking beers and you're not. I would still get plenty toasty, not in the
Oh,
direct sunlight with it being like 80 or 90 degrees. And
Yeah.
you're out in the air, not in the air conditioning because you're trying to enjoy the nice ocean breeze, but it's still just too hot.
yeah.
Yeah. I like
Oppressed.
to tell people, they ask me like, what is it? Sometimes people ask me what it's like, and I'll tell them about what I lived through, and they say, "What about weather? Do you like weather?" And I say, "You know what I really need? If you could give me like sunny and like 70 degrees, then I'm all
San
set.
Diego, San
San
That's what I
Yeah,
Diego,
said.
San
That's
Diego.
California, Southern California, like
you just
Santa
yeah,
Barbara. I went to school in Santa Barbara, and
uh,
the temperature is pretty, none of the humidity, In
Yeah.
fact, they would complain about it being humid coming from the East Coast, to be like, "What are you talking about?"
Yeah, you stole what I was going to say. I then tell people I have to win the Powerball because to move out to the
Uh,
beaches in San Diego, you need to win the Powerball. But yeah, we went out there for my niece got married there about 10 years ago. And oh my God, it's just so, not only is the scenic so majestic and beautiful, but the weather, there's a breeze and it's just, yeah, that's where I want to go. So
yeah, but you
keep
really do have to be a millionaire. You're right,
yeah. Keep pumping keep saying all the names of these great companies. Maybe they'll help
exactly,
contribute to all of that.
exactly.
Yeah, yeah. Well,
It's all right.
this was a perfect day. I'm looking out the window here at the sun blaring down on me for us to convene and talk about conditions for the community to be aware of and to plan ahead. Those were a lot of the big catchphrases we hit on today as far as staying safe in this weather. We want everyone to enjoy the summer and the spring, but we want you to do it safely. And we've got some words of wisdom from the crew here. Barry Monroe, Sasha Rabchevsky, and Dr. Trevor Dyson Hudson. And I'm John McAlevey. And we look forward to having you join us in the future where we'll have a number of other topics that we're going to hit on. And if there are any issues that you would like to hear us bloviate and riff on, please reach out. You can find me at email address is jmcalevey@comcast.net. And we would be more than happy to accommodate you in that respect. So thank you again for joining us, and we look forward to seeing you in the future, and enjoy the summer safely.